Let's separate Levi's De La Riva game into two categories, the inside game and the outside game. Right now he's playing the outside game, looking to cut an angle to the outside, possibly collect that far leg of Davis. Right there you see he tries to reach for it. He's playing with a deep De La Riva wrap, so sometimes he's going to go elbow deep on that De La Riva. Because his main goal here is to create an angle to the back, start to look for that baby bolo, possibly, like I said, collect that far leg and drop his opponent to a hip so he can start to play the berimbolo game. Now, as he's looking for that outside game, you can see that Davis is controlling that leg and looking to stuff it into headquarters. Now, this is where Levi is going to switch to the inside game. As soon as he stuffs that leg into headquarters, that's exactly what Levi wants, because he's going to start to look to play that inside waiter game. So, watch how he starts to lift that leg with his left hand, and he's going to want to scoop grip. So look at the grip pass off. You can see how he controls the leg so that as he lets go to switch to a scoop grip, he never relinquishes control over that leg. Now with his right hand, he wants to get a really deep scoop grip on the other leg. Now Asare throws up a pretty cool counter here. So he's not fully in the waiter because he hasn't gotten a deep scoop with his right arm. And Asare starts to sit back and almost, I think he's attacking that knee ripper kind of thing that Barbosa submitted Joseph Chen with in the CJI. Anyways, one more time, let's take a look at this inside-outside game. So right now he's playing the outside game. You can see that as Davis stuffs his leg, he tips to the inside game momentarily. Because you can see right away again, he tips back to the outside and starts to play that outside game again. So outside game in this case is going to be Levi on his left hip. The inside game is when he flips to his right hip. So you can see he stuffs the leg, Levi flips, nope, goes back to the left hip, starts to play outside game again, and that game can just go on back and forth and back and forth. Now this is going to change the scenario. So when you go underhook De La Riva, your outside game is a bit weaker than your inside game. That inside game is really there because once you go underhook De La Riva, you already have the first side. You already have the first scoop grip for the waiter. And once you start to tip them inside, you do not have to make that grip change, that pass off that we saw earlier. Now you do still have pretty good options from the outside game. You can lift your hips and go De La Riva X and spin under for like a waiter entry. There's a great clip of JP Tran doing it. That entry is really nice, really fluid. But typically when you see people playing underhook De La Riva, they're going to be playing inside game. So here he is, inside game. Now Davis has basically dropped his hip to the floor, so that waiter is not going to happen because he's unable to scoop that left leg of Davis. So one thing that Levi could do in this situation is go for like this kind of corkscrew backstep. I'll show you a video of Rafa Mendes doing it here. So you can see same position pretty much. All Levi would have to do is bring his leg down, slide it down towards Davis's hip. And then you can see right there, go for the back step, swing your leg through, start to expose the back. Great option that Levi could do from here. Now there is a slight difference in these two positions. So if you look at the top, the guy's on his knee, whereas on the bottom, Asare is on his hip. So this exact move, if you go for that back step, it's not going to end up like it did when Rafa did it. But you can still do it, and basically what will happen is, since they're on their hip, you'll be able to basically backstep into a wedge bolo. So very similar position. You can see he goes for the corkscrew backstep. Right here he could have gone for the wedge bolo again if he rolled through, but he sits, switches his hips, and starts to look for the back in a different variation, which is really interesting. He kind of finished that back take with like an octopus hip switch kind of back take. As you can see, for a second, he does have that octopus grip, literally like for a second, and then he switches his hips around. It's really cool stuff. And I think it's always good to know what options you have, and obviously to have multiple. So anyways, we know what he could have done, so let's see what he does instead. So he's actually just going to take advantage, and he did this multiple times in the match because Davis kept sitting back to guard and just giving up the sweep. He just came on top. Now Levi's going to utilize one of my favorite ways to pass, side-to-side leg drags. So here he is, half lasso comes in on the knee cut. Now that half lasso leg of Asare is vulnerable. If Levi swims that arm out to the thigh and shucks it by, he's going to be able to get the pass. And that's exactly what he does. Now, Asare's going to throw in his knee shield with his right leg to regard. Now, watch how Levi, again, controls that thigh, leg drags it. Again, regards. Instead of the knee shield, he throws up the half lasso. Again, same exact thing. Levi's going to control that bottom leg. You can see right now he's on the arm. There's the leg control. He swims the arm to the outside and shucks the leg by again. But instead of landing in a leg drag, he just travels all the way to north-south, tongue twister, and secures his pass. Guys, when you're going for a leg drag on someone, expect them to throw up that half lasso or high leg over and be ready so that you can counter it when it happens. Now, there's many ways to do this, so I'm going to do a full video on it in the future. Look out for that. It's going to be called Destroying the High Leg / Lasso when going for leg drags. There are some really amazing options to destroy that regard attempt. Anyways, in terms of this leg drag pass that he does over and over, this is the important thing to understand as the guard player. And this exact scenario happened with Marigali versus Leandro Lo, where Leandro Lo used it to momentarily pass Marigali's guard. And I made a video on it, so check that out if you're interested. But essentially what we have to understand as the guard player in this scenario, when we're playing with a half lasso or a lasso to retain our guard, is that if we're not controlling their wrist at the same time or their sleeve in the gi, we are vulnerable to them, aka Levi in this case, pummeling his right arm out to our thigh and dragging our leg, shucking it by and entering into a leg drag. You can see that Asare is controlling the armpit, which is all right, but it doesn't prevent this pass. If you want to prevent this shuck pass, you have to control their hand so that they're unable to swim it out like he does in a second. So you can see why that armpit control is nothing, because in a second he swims out to the hip and shucks for the leg drag. Again, there it is, right? There's the lasso. He controls the armpit, but Levi's hand is free to go to the hip and shuck, and that's where he gets the pass. Now, next clip, single leg X. Asare is controlling both ankles. He goes to modified and starts to overhead extend, looking to get that sweep, but Levi does a great job of posting on his hand to keep his balance, and he resets the position. So here we go, controlling the leg, back to modified X. Starts to high step, doesn't work. Goes to post on his hands. Asare looks for a reap here, but look at how Levi's knee-elbow connection stops that from happening. That's really cool. So one more time, look at how he pummels out and goes for that reap. And look at how Levi's knee-elbow kind of down blocks that leg. And he can kind of deflect it off. Also, in terms of Asare's bottom leg, his right leg, I'm not sure why he brought it up. I guess like typically when you go for the reap, you'd want to hook their other leg with that bottom leg. So I'm not sure, that probably there was something he had in mind that I'm just not aware of, but that was kind of weird to me. It also seemed a little counterproductive, because if you're trying to reap somebody's leg, notice the direction that his left leg's traveling, and then for his right leg to basically like swing up the other way, it's like it ruins the direction of the reap, right? So it kind of unreaps the leg in a way. So now he gets put into this outside ashi kind of stacked leg drag kind of position, which typically does not go well for the guard player. Now you can see Levi is putting a lot of emphasis on keeping his foot heavy, so putting a lot of weight over his right leg, or knee now in this case. And he's also putting a lot of emphasis in making sure that that knee of Asare, you can see he tried it right there, is not able to retract. So he's keeping one hand on that knee at all times, just making sure that that leg is always dragged. Now take a look. You can see how much he emphasizes holding that leg in the dragged position, because as he uses his other hand to kind of fight the grip, he ensures that one hand's always holding that knee from retracting to Asare's chest. So there's another switch off, right back to the knee, the other hand grip fights. Now Asare is doing a good job of holding that leg, because if Levi is able to pummel, if he's able to windshield wipe his shoelace outside of the ashigarami, the leg entanglement, he would end up in a very deep leg drag, and that would be really bad for Davis. Now Davis is getting cooked here, so he's going to do a big extension, and he ends up scooping the leg. Now he's going to pass it off to 50-50. Now Levi's going to turn his back, almost forcing Davis into backside 50, where he can then backstep and escape the entanglement. Now, this next clip is another example of why when you throw up a half lasso, that armpit control is no good. You want to control the wrist. Because look how Levi pummels his hand out once again to the thigh, but this time he grabs the thigh and puts in a leg trap. This allows him to smash that knee to the side, effectively ending up in kind of like a leg weave position where he can start to work his windshield wipers and pass the guard. Another option Levi had at his disposal as soon as he got that leg trap right there is that he could have just started working an over-under pass with the leg trap. But it wasn't necessary because as he went to the side, Asare's hips tipped all the way and kind of just put himself into a leg weave / smash pass position. So last clip. Again, Levi takes advantage of the fact that Asare just sits so far back, probably to get defensive, that Levi can just come up and start passing. Now let's take a look at what goes down here. Now it's that same style of shuck leg drag passing. So look at his right hand just already on the thigh. Now as he starts to break, you can see right there he's about to cut an angle. So what he's gonna do, his right hand is on the thigh, parked, ready to go and shuck as soon as he cuts an angle. Because right now if he were to shuck that leg, it might actually even kick him in the balls, right? So he has to kind of cut an angle and then shuck that leg. So ideally, he's going to start to control that bottom leg of Asare and cut the angle, because that bottom hook of Asare is preventing that. So let's take a look. He looks to control that leg, steps back, cuts an angle, shucks. He doesn't end up in a leg drag because he drops so low, and also because look at, as soon as he shucks, Davis drops that knee so that it can really overshoot his high leg, looking to retain his guard. The problem is, like I just said, he overshot, and this puts Levi in a deep over-under position. Now Levi tripods his hips. He's going to sink his head into the pocket right there, and he doesn't even need to backstep the leg because he's already cleared it. So he kind of just walks into the side control and stabilizes his position. Overall, this match was pretty much a masterclass from Levi. He didn't really face any resistance, any threats, passed the guard like it was nothing, and showed off some great skills in his own guard and his passing. So I hope you guys enjoyed my favorite moments from this match, and we'll see you next time.